I want to come back to that question of cultural prostitution. Can you explain what you mean by that? Why is tourism cultural prostitution? Who's being prostituted?
Yeah.
Who's the pimp?
What I do is give a metaphorical understanding to the tourist industry, because we're in Hawaii and have no real sense of how people look at us from the outside. And what I'm trying to do is to say to primarily the Hawaiian people, but also to the general public, we should look at some of this the way someone else might look at it who comes in from the outside, who sees this magnificently beautiful, fragile place, which is jammed with freeways, jammed with bodies, tourists on the beaches, jammed with hotels, has tremendous pollution problems at Pearl Harbor, which is on the Superfund list because of the Environmental Protection Agency, because it's so polluted, at Honolulu International Airport, which has so much traffic that the Airline Association is afraid of it. Look at the beaches at Waikiki. Oahu is about 640 square miles. We have over 6 million tourists a year here. We are now running at beyond our capacity in terms of water, in terms of space, in terms of fresh air, in terms of beautiful beaches. And what I have done is to take that engine of ideology that tourism is what we need and put an entirely other analysis on it. And that analysis is something like this. Hawaii is a beautiful woman, and she is being used and categorized as a prostitute. She has lovely, gracious talents. The pimp here is the state of Hawaii, the Hawaii Visitors Bureau. They're the ones who transform this beautiful woman that is Hawaii into a saleable, sexualized commodity on the international market of tourism. The Johns, those who come to be serviced by this beautiful woman, Hawaii, are the tourists themselves. The more expensive the commodity, the more beautiful the beach in this case, or the more isolated the area, the richer is the John. So who are the richest Johns? The Japanese tourists. So Japanese tourists come in this metaphor, they go to a beautiful isolated place like Hana Maui or the Kona, North Kona area of the Big Island, or Molokai, and they stay at the most expensive hotels, spend the most money. So the idea would be that we're so beautiful and so gracious, and we have so much to offer in the sense of culture, but in fact that culture is turned into something that's a commodity, something that's degrading for Native Hawaiians, and it's constantly sold by this engine of, for lack of a better term, I would call the prostitution sellers, the pimps, which is the state of Hawaii, which is the Hawaii Visitors Bureau. And I've tried to take that and use that metaphor to look at ads that show beautiful Hawaiian women being costumed in a slutty, salacious manner, to look at beaches, to look at any number of magazines. The Spirit of Aloha magazine is one that I use on Aloha Airlines. Anything that you pick up in the tourist area shows this tremendous exploitation of the beauty and really the spirit of Hawaii, which is no longer the traditional Hawaiian spirit, but is now this commercialized thing that's reaping tremendous profit for people like Richard Kelly of Diamond Head beach fame, who owns the Outrigger canoes, for the state of Hawaii, which has tremendous taxes on this, for the Bishop Estate, which owns hotels, particularly for the Japanese investors. They're not just here as tourists, they're here as investors. Hawaii Business this month has the top 25 Japanese companies in Hawaii, and the first 5 are companies that own hotels: the Moana, the Sheraton, the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. Royal Hawaiian, owned by a Japanese company. I mean, how false, how commercialized this idea is. And I think cultural prostitution goes right to the heart of this falsity and exposes what has really happened to the Hawaiian people, what continues to happen. Now, the sad thing is that our own people are complicitous in this engine of prostitution because we have to work in the hotels. We need income, however meager and badly paid our workers are, they must be in the hotels. And so we're doubly commercialized and doubly oppressed. First, because our culture is sold, and second, because we ourselves are sold.